Gregar's crosses might be powerful, but Falzar's are tricky. You gain access to all sorts of abilities just by transforming, from a little bit of healing to blowing away life auras to status guard, which is the only way to get it without using patch cards. This is the story of Falzar and its crosses and transformations, as well as a quick lesson on cross canceling. Let's get right into it. So in our Gregar Crosses video, we talked about the elemental weaknesses and the cycle that you can expect in Battle Network 6. It's a little bit different than the earlier games. However, in this video, I want to talk about cross canceling, which is a very simple but very important concept related to crosses. So in this position, Mega Man is currently stunned, right? We're on the custom menu. And this can work even if you're frozen or bubbled or whatever. The really cool thing is all you got to do is beast out or transform in some way. Maybe we'll swap to a different one right here. And all of a sudden, boom, we enter the battle, no longer paralyzed, no longer frozen or whatever, and we're ready to fight again. This can be a really big deal because if your opponent is running a stun strategy, maybe they've got a powerful chip that they can punish you with if you're not careful. So obviously being able to dodge that is great. So many Navi customizers run Rush, which is a program that punishes you with paralysis the first time you try to use Invis. So if you wait until the end of the custom screen to use your Invis, Rush will trigger, but then you can immediately enter a brand new cross and completely nullify that. For that reason, it's a really good idea to wait until maybe the middle of the game to use the cross that your folder is most built around. If you start off with something like maybe Charge Cross or Dust Cross to help you cycle through chips and maybe get your strategy going, that way you can still preserve some advantage and be able to remove yourself from awkward positions like that. Let's start off Falzar with Aqua Cross, which is definitely one of my personal favorites. I like it quite a bit. All of your water chips that don't freeze time are going to heal you for 50 life, which is super notable. The game tells you it's 5%, but that's actually based on your HP memories, like your true life total, not the extra HP you get from the Navi customizer. So for all intents and purposes, it's 50 life. And think about how solid that is. First of all, you get to heal just as you use your chips, which is pretty good in itself. But if you're down to 1 HP with Undershirt, you can really abuse that position because, for example, going to 1 HP, then using a water chip going to 51, get hit, go back to 1, go back to 51, right? It's really hard to kill you if you can just keep using up a chain of water attacks, which is super cool. I would say that one of the best features of Aqua Cross is its very, very fast charge attack. True, it's not going to deal nearly as much damage as other crosses you've seen, but because it's so fast to charge and because the actual blast of the bubbler is so quick, it's really, really good at hitting the opponent's anti-damages. So we're going to go ahead and throw a few water chips out here, and you're going to see just exactly how they work. So I've already taken a bit of damage. You're going to see each of these little seeds is going to heal me for 50, which is super cool. Now, an interesting spot to think about is, let's bait him right there. Look at that. And boom, we didn't even have to use an actual water attack, right? Just having our charge shot as an option was really, really cool in that position, right? So think about how good an Aqua Dragon is, which I can show you in just a second. We're going to double it up, charging it up for double damage, 240. And we can easily combo that off with more of our charge shot action, which is just so cool. And we can hit with another ×2 effect right there with more breaking chips. Breaking chips do deal double damage to frozen targets, which is amazing. Let's go ahead and go into Beast Out right here and show you what the Aqua spinner looks like. It's pretty cool. It's very, very nice if you can get a little bit of area because it's going to go directly in front of you, kind of in like a wide, ooh, darn, little punk right over there. Well, let's charge up that once more. And let's see if we can get a little attack right there. Nope, looks like it's more like the longsword. If we can just be really patient, we can show you exactly what it looks like. Look at that. Nice. Look at that. Tons and tons of damage. Super, super solid stuff. Now, Aqua Cross is really held in place by the fact that electricity is pretty common. Judge Man is in every single folder. Element Man is in every single folder. And Elect Pulse chips and Dull Thunder chips are pretty popular ways to deal a lot of damage. They're pretty strong. As well as Elect Dragons, which are very, very good too. But still, Aqua Cross is just a really, really solid way to start a match or to go a little bit closer to mid-game just because it's pretty safe overall. You can basically attack the opponents from the back row. If you've got Hub Batch in your folder, you can maximize your charge and attack to really start spamming things. Because if you can get a frozen hit on the opponent, you could actually fire a second water attack really quickly without your opponent getting iframes. So really cool overall. I really enjoy Aqua Cross. Now, Tomahawk Cross is by far one of my favorite crosses. It is absolutely insane just how many things it does. First of all, you do get the grass body, which means that you can heal when you are on grass panels. Of course, you take an additional bit of damage on fire, which is super, super scary. But I wanted to go to 1 HP really quick just to show you what this looks like in practice. In this game, Battle Network 6, I don't know about maybe 5 as well. Maybe 5 is similar, I think. But if you go and turn the stage grass, like we were about to do, the rate of healing that you get is a lot slower once you're beyond 10, right? Or once you're lower than 10. Once you start getting a high and more, it gets a little bit bigger. But yeah, look at how slow it is, right? That's obviously because it's pretty busted to just keep healing. When you've got undershirt around, it'd be really hard to kill you, like it has been in Battle Network 3 and 4. And unlike Aqua Cross, right, which, you know, can definitely abuse undershirt because you just instantly get 50 HP every time you use a water chip. Yeah, it's a little bit harder with Tomahawk, but still, one of the best things about Tomahawk is Status Guard. That there is not a Navi customizer program that can give that to you. That's the ability to be not stunned, not paralyzed, not frozen, not bubbled, none of that, right? You just don't get any of it whatsoever. It's extremely, extremely strong for that reason. And you also get to charge up your grass chips for double damage, which is definitely not something to snuff at whatsoever. Risky Honey is a really powerful chip. This is a chip that does more damage the more hits that you get going on. So it's really good against like a Beast Buster or something. And take a look too, right? You also get the ability to have a Life Sword swing, which is very similar to Slash Crust, right? You basically have full damage when you've got +1 area grab going on. And because it's also partly a sword chip or a sword element, you do hit Tengu for double damage. And if you're against those little shadow viruses, you also get a little bit of extra damage there too. So let's go into Beast Out when it comes to Tomahawk. Now we're going to see some boomers that go down, which are pretty cool. The two of them don't really hit that well together. You basically have to wait. Yeah, look at that. We completely missed right there. Ooh, am I going to die? Yep, I'm dead. Cool. But you can see what the boomers look like. They're basically like 2 of them to go, and if you can hit in the exact same corner, both of them will connect for a good amount of damage. But really, at the end of the day, Tomahawk is really good at preventing the statuses and at really closing the game out when you've got an area grab and your powerful Tomahawk swing is not going to be missing. Tengu Cross is obscenely important because it's one of the easiest and most effortless ways to get rid of life auras and barrier 200s. In this game, Mega Man Battle Network 6, all wind chips and wind effects just instantly blow them off. And you can see we don't even have to deal damage with our wind rack attack. All we got to do is hit back and B at the same time to gust the opponent to the very, very back or to the very, very front, which will also get rid of their life auras. Now, we can always use our Tengus more offensively too. It's usually more of a reactionary tool, right? But if we actually manage to get our opponent into the back row, we can basically spam our wind rack infinitely. The wind rack is so good because it doesn't actually cause their opponent to flash and take those invincibility frames. You can just do it as much as you want. Now, you got to be really careful when you are a Tengu, right? You got to be extremely careful because there's a lot of really random stuff that are technically swords. So the shuriken of anti-damage, let's go ahead and just pop right into that. Look at that. Dealt double damage to our wind friend right there. Super unfortunate. So that's something you're going to see in just about every setup. Now, the real thing you got to be watching out for is chips like Muramasa and Neovari. Those chips are very, very scary because they can hit for quite a bit of damage, even without hitting for double, which, yeah, is going to be a big problem. And you can take a look at this barrier 100. It's just going to blow off as soon as I walk into the opponent right there using their wind attack. So let's go ahead and just keep abusing our friend with the wind rack. And I'm going to go ahead, look at that, and there's the Muramasa, right? It's very scary. In fact, it's a very common combo in Battle Network 6 to go into a Life Aura or a Barrier 200, predict that your opponent will go into Tengu, and then punish them massively with a Muramasa or a Neovari. In fact, that was a whole video that we did earlier. And of course, having the air shoes as Tengu is massive. Yes, we do get Beast Out and Falzar to do something very similar, and we don't get float shoes like we do with Falzar. So, you know, poison panels are still going to hurt us for extra damage and things like that. But still, the ability to get your shoes at any second is pretty massive. And I'm going to go ahead too and show you what it looks like to go into the Beast Out version of Tengu right here. So it's a pretty cool attack. It's going to hit for multiple times in an interesting T formation. And look, we're going to hit for double damage right there. Very, very cool stuff. The wind attack does hit multiple times, which is quite powerful. But truthfully being told, you're basically just going to be using Tengu for the back B and the ability to occasionally really punish the opponent if you can get them on the very, very back row. Dust Cross is so powerful for so many reasons. It's just got amazing utility, as well as the ability to shuffle away your chips and draw into combo pieces, or find a really powerful and important chip to your folder like Bug Death Thunder. So one of the most common things that you'll see people do on the first turn of a game, if they're Falzar, is go right into Dust Cross, but immediately use a full cust, and they'll have a first barrier up too. So this is basically impossible to shut down, right? Because if you want to stop this, the full cust from going off, you'd have to use a time freeze chip, like maybe Erase Man or something of the sort. But if you got the barrier up, you're going to stop that Erase Man cursor beam from hitting double damage and decrossing you. It's very, very powerful because now I've just got a free turn to immediately start throwing things away. And we're going to do that, right? The dust shoot's really good. You basically put all 5 of those chips at the bottom of your folder, and then you can eventually draw into them once again. So take a look at a few really cool uses of Dust Cross. If you hit back and B at the same time, you do a vacuum suck. Now I can use a chip like, I can use a chip like this, my air raid, and take a look. I got a lot of value out of it, and I shot it out for 200 damage, which is insanely good. Very, very powerful stuff. And let's see if I can get one more coming in. The same is true for obstacles like rock cubes and whatever. Now, what's really interesting is that many maps in Mega Man PvP just start with rocks and obstacles on the field. So if you're Dust Cross, you can basically suck everything up and just start to spit things out for 200 damage a pop without really much effort whatsoever. Plus, you're also destroying these obstacles that maybe are helping your opponent, which is super, super cool. Now, the, I just got blown into that. I guess there's a little air feature there, which, as we all know, does cause you to lose some value. So, the last thing we'll do before we hop into the Beast Out is show you what the charge shot is and what a charge shot, right? So even if the damage isn't insane, you basically spit out these little scrap reborns that will crack panels, right? So if your opponent's on Sanctuary, if they have some important spots, or even if you just want to lock them into not being able to move as often, just using your charge shot is a great way to do it, which is so, so powerful. Now, once we go into the Beast Out, you'll see that you'll see that the charge attack is pretty interesting. You become invincible for a few seconds as you start to randomly spit out dust all over the place. Kind of hard to hit with, right? It's not always easy to actually get the connects going on, but still, those panels that you shot out did destroy a whole bunch of spots in the field. Look at me, I'm just so good today. You destroy a bunch of panels on the spots, and you are invincible while you're in the air too. So a lot of great defensive opportunities there. But truthfully, the dust is mostly going to be used for cycling right away and for sucking up obstacles at the start of the match. It is held back severely by the fact that machine guns are everywhere to destroy those traps. So even though the Erase Cross's killer beam does not actually destroy Dust Cross, there are still you're basically always going to run into Erase Man, the Navi chip, or a bunch of machine guns to ruin your day. So you got to be really, really careful and make sure that if you're using an anti-damage while you're up in Dust Cross, that you have something like Invis or Barrier to protect it or preserve it. And last but not least, we've got Ground Cross, which is pretty interesting. It's not really my favorite, but it does have its uses. The best thing about Ground Cross is that it gives you super armor. Now, granted, just about every single Navi customizer is going to have super armor because it's just that good, but if you ever get it uninstalled by the opponent, you can always hop back into Ground Cross to make sure that you've got it going on. Now, all non-time freezing chips that are breaking element do get plus 10 damage. I don't know why it's so weak. The reason why is because you can charge up these attacks to deal some rocks damage that can come in. You get little rocks that get to show up in the corner, which is like pretty cool and all, but all things considered, I think you would rather just deal double damage like some other ones do. So take a look. Right? So pretty interesting, but unfortunately the rocks don't even like crack or anything. I don't know, they're whatever. And truthfully, a lot of breaking chips are not really that powerful either when they're not breaking time. The best breaking chips are Groundman SP, even regular Groundman, and Meteor Knuckle, all of which do, of course, freeze time. Now, the charge shot is pretty interesting. It's very slow, so it's kind of hard to actually connect with. You know, and it's very much telegraphed as well, right? Because you go underground and then the opponent knows that you got a little bit of time to move out of the way. However, going underground is basically a really great defensive tactic. You are more or less immune to everything, and that has some really interesting applications in itself. And similarly, when we go into Ground Beast, you're going to notice that we've got a lot of really cool defensive applications too. So let's go ahead and give some space. You can see what it looks like. Look at that. It's green. That green invincibility is the same kind that you get from Fanfare, which is just super powerful. Even if the attack itself isn't nearly as strong, being able to warp across the screen and deal damage at a fast pace while also being completely invulnerable, does have very, very good upsides. Now, another downside of Ground Cross is that it's weak to Cursor, and every single folder has got it, right? Erase Man is super, super popular, and machine guns are really popular too because they destroy your anti-damages and your other trap chips. So if you're in Ground Cross and you've got an anti-damage up, you should be very, very wary, because if your opponent hits you with a machine gun or a magnum or something, you're going to lose Ground Cross, take double damage, and you're going to lose your trap. That's a really, really big swing, so you definitely have to watch out for it. And there you have it. Those are all the Falzar crosses and beast out transformations, as well as it makes them so special. We've got our Gregar video right here if you're interested in learning more about the crosses in that version of the game. Please stay tuned for the Rental Rumble. We've got a video coming up that is going over all 14 of the folders that you can use right away. All you've got to do is trade folder with someone in our Discord and you're ready to go. This tournament is coming up this weekend. It's new player friendly, and I can't wait to see you there, Net Battlers.